Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Let's Get Ready Network. I'm Adelia. That's my buddy Brandi. We are here with another Happy Place review, this time for episode 7. Brandi, how you doing tonight? This was a fun episode.
I'm doing good. Yeah, I enjoyed this episode. We had a little special guest star. And if you are all Reba fans from the show that was like, they even said it in it like 20 years ago, we had Steve Howey, who played Van. He made a guest appearance in this episode, and I was happy to see him. About you, Adelia?
We really should have known that he was going to be in this episode because I looked at the title. Okay, first off, we fully expected this episode to air at its normal time, and then like 10 minutes before it was supposed to air at its normal time, we found out they were showing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which delayed it like an hour and 15 minutes. So I looked up to make sure we were still having an episode once I saw Rudolph was on, and saw the title of this episode is Ho Ho Howie. And we should have known from that he was going to be on this episode.
See, to be fair, all I saw on my episode guide thing, I just saw ho 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 because it only showed the HO because it cut it off on my, because I watch it on my phone, and I didn't register that you said Howie, so I was like,
yeah,
I didn't register. I would had I registered. You said that, I would have been like, oh my god.
Yeah. So we should have known. But we didn't, and so therefore, in the course of the episode, when his character Danny is finally introduced, it was a great surprise. It was wonderful.
Oh, good. Yeah, and I was like, it's Van!
You did yell that out, yeah.
I did yell. Me and Adelia watch it together when so yeah, she heard me yell, Van! It's Van! Oh my, a reunion, yay!
Yeah.
Which I saw a hilarious clip of a little behind the scenes stuff. So, in the show, Gabby, I almost said Bobby, they had to switch roles because Gabby knew this. So they were going to have a holiday party. This Knoxville Trust always has their annual holiday party at Happy's Place, and they canceled this year. And I guess that was their big party that they always had. They count on that money to help them with insurance. And so them canceling this party, they needed to scramble to find somebody. And Gabby knew somebody who she goes to the dog park with no dog, and she knows this guy Danny. She's like, well, Danny owes me a favor because I saved his dog Tinkerbell. And so she goes, I could talk to him and see. So Danny is Steve, who played Van, and that's where he comes in. But in the process of that happening, Gabby says, oh, by the way, I'm Bobby. Like, you have to pretend I'm Bobby because she told them that she's Bobby and she owns her tavern. And so everybody has to call her Bobby. Steve comes in. Gabby changed the whole office of Bobby's and put all of her stuff, and she has this big,
huge portrait of herself.
Big portrait. So she's like, don't touch anything. I gotta go because Bobby came in. She's like, what is all this? She's like, oh, I thought you had the day off. She figured that, since she had the day off and the office didn't have a touch of her, so she's gonna make it a touch of her. Everything, like everything is Gabby. You see pictures of Gabby on the back in the big portrait. So then she goes, don't touch anything. I got more. I'll be back. And she goes out the back, and Bobby decides she's going to throw a mustache onto the picture of Gabby. And as she's doing so, a guy walks in, and it is Danny, aka Van, Steve. He catches her doing that, and he says something about her mustache, and he says something about his mustache because he comes in and he has a mustache, which he didn't have on Reba. So that was a funny little. I don't know if you remember that one, Adelia.
I do remember that, yeah. And then the behind the scenes clip that you found that they put out, the outtake where he goes, I know who you are, and then in the actual show he's like, you must be Gabby, but in this outtake he's like, Mrs. H. and then Melissa Peterman comes in and he's like, Barbara Jean.
She goes, Van! He's like, I haven't seen you guys forever. She goes, we've been in witness protection for 20 years. So that was the behind the scenes that wasn't in the show. But if you happen to find, if you're a fan of Reba and fan of Happy's Place, you'll go look up for that behind the scenes little tidbit there that they
I
they
think
did.
you showed it to me on TikTok or Facebook. It's also on their YouTube, the NBC YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's all over. So if you're a fan, you'll laugh at the clip because I found it pretty funny. They act because he doesn't act. Van was a little bit different, in Reba, and so he's totally different. So when he came in there and he's like, Mrs. H, and he just went into Van, and I was like, that's perfect. He still got it. Like, but it was a perfect. Yeah. So then back to the episode, back to the original episode. He comes in and says, "You're Gabby," and then he's like, Gabby comes in and he was like, I wanted to diffuse the situation, but I caught Gabby writing on your poster. She's like, she sees the poster and was like, Gabby, and she starts going in on her. And then Danny's like, no, you gotta, say, Gabby, do you need to talk to a therapist? And then she's like, Gabby, do you need to talk to a therapist? And Bobby, back to Gabby, who's playing Bobby, goes, Gabby, I think, needs to talk to a therapist.
Yeah, I think she said it's incredibly obvious that Gabby needs some counseling or something like that. Yeah. I have to say that this episode was not fair to do to us, who constantly have been confusing Bobby and Gabby and Isabella's names because they're so similar, to do to us in like episode 7. Like maybe when we're more established and all right, okay, Reba is Bobby, Melissa is Gabby, then we can do this crossover thing more, because we screw up saying their names so much that this was not fair.
Hey, at least I'm not calling her Barbara Jean anymore. So we're getting this the 3 females, and we're like Gabby, Isabella, and Bobby.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that Bobby is now. See, I think of things because you're gonna laugh at me. So Bobby is Reba. Reba's a redhead. There was a character on General Hospital named Bobby who was also a redhead. So that's how I kind of associate. So that's how Bobby's the redhead. Gabby is the blonde. Isabella is the Mexican who, in this episode, gets told she's from Paris.
Yeah, in this episode, Gabby has told Danny, like the actual Gabby has told Danny, that Bobby has her character Bobby has a long lost sister, Isabella, from France. So Isabella has to put on a French accent whenever she speaks.
No, it's funny because when he first entered, she tells them that they're all mixed up, but everybody else is regular. You're like Emmett, Steve, Dakota. Dakota wants nothing to do it because he doesn't want to lie. So Bobby gets them all like, we're all gonna lie because we all want this party because we need somebody to fill in the spot.
My favorite part of this is when Steve says he's Emmett.
So he comes in. Steve comes in. Van. Woo, Danny. Danny comes in. Steve. Danny comes in and she introduces them to everybody. And then like, this is Isabella, and she's like, bonjour. And then he's like, oh, I thought she spoke English. She's like, I do. And he goes, oh, you leaving? She goes, no, that's I do, but I do. I laughed at that because she was funny. She definitely it's you get thrown these conflicts, these issues, and they just roll with it. So I like how like this ensemble's coming together, and when anything gets thrown their way, they kind of roll with the punches with all of it. So for them to go with Gabby's scheme and just roll with the punches, and it's funny. Steve coming in, he's like, I'm Emmett. Because she was going to introduce him, and he's like, everybody's like, what?
Yeah.
He said, I wear bandanas. And what was the I don't remember the rest of it, but he's like, but
I wear a bandana as the cook in the kitchen or something like that.
So he's like, I'm a tough guy that wears bandanas, something.
Yeah.
And then before that,
Emmett.
Emmett Emmett said
Yeah.
Emmett said something about they had scallops, this stuff. So Steve said they were slimy. So this is another thing about this. It's like, oh, they're so slimy and stuff like that. But then he decides he's gonna be Emmett. So now the guy wants him to make food for him because they go into the kitchen. Bobby, as Gabby, is giving him the tour, and they go into the kitchen, and they're like, "Well, you got a sample?" And she goes, "What do you recommend for appetizers?" And Steve, as Emmett, says, "Pretzels. They're less slimy."
Yeah.
And then he goes, "I heard
And
about
then
these scallops."
yeah, and then Emmett, who
I'm out.
had earlier when got time to introduce him, said I'm out instead of giving a name. So Danny calls him Mr. Out for the rest of the episode, which I found really funny. Emmett comes to the little like entry passageway thing to hand the food out and starts saying, it's amazing what Emmett can do with half a stick of butter, and just like
Yeah.
giving Steve all the ingredients he needs to make these scallops.
So this was perfect. This was definitely a funny comedic moment from Steve, who's Emmett, because
Mhm.
Danny wants him to make scallops for him, and he has to go in there, and he's like, opens it, he's like, yum. It's like, and then he puts his hand into the thing and is like, picks them up, has a very issue,
Yeah.
and just goes, I love
It
cooking.
looked like it was painful for him
Painful.
to do that. He did.
Very
Uh,
painful.
Steve is played by Pablo Castelblanco, and he did fantastic with that
Oh my
physical
god.
comedy acting there.
And he did great. His little he put it in, and then that's when Emmett comes to he's like, oh, Steve, Emmett's a good cook, half a stick of butter, garlic, 2 things of lemon, parsley, salt and pepper, like put it on medium heat. He's like telling him
Yeah.
what to do, and it's like, oh, so he cooks it. So Emmett is telling Steve how to cook it, basically. Steve don't know what he's doing, and he dug his foot in his
Steve
mouth.
has no clue what he's doing. It's quite amusing.
So that was a very funny scene right there. Probably one of my favorites with him and doing
Yeah.
that with the picking up the
And so they
scallop.
keep trying to get after that, they keep trying to get Danny to leave, but Danny wants to have a beer, and he wants to hang out, and he wants to see the vibe, and he wants to see all this stuff. And then it gets to the part where he says, "Let's role play."
Mm-hmm.
And Bobby, playing Gabby, you be Bobby, and Gabby, being Bobby, you be Gabby, and
Mm-hmm.
Isabella is still Isabella,
Mm-hmm.
and you get them to say some things to each other that they really need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a really nice part, I thought.
Yeah, Bobby says she's trying all this stuff, and she feels like if she fails, she's failing all of them, basically. And then Gabby just wants to be part of the family,
Yeah.
She thinks of everybody as family. And then they go to hug, and Isabella's like, my turn. And she said something very nice about them too, and they had a group hug. And then Danny's like, "Oh, wasn't that better?" And then said, "Hey, Isabella, what happened to your accent?" "I was pretending to be American." I was
Yeah.
like, she did a good job too.
She did really good.
She made me laugh. She came in. She was all about the holiday spirit and wanting to. When Isabella came in, she had a reindeer ears and a Rudolph nose, and she put it on. She's like, let's go decorate, and she put the reindeer. And then when things went down is when she shut it off.
Yeah.
And then Dakota comes in. Dakota had come in when Danny went to the bathroom, and he was like, is it all done or whatever, you guys? And he's like, no. And so he went out. But then when Danny did the exercise thing, Dakota came back out, and he's like, are we gonna have the party? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, you're Dakota, right? And he's like, you look stressed out and stuff. And he's like, yeah. He goes, is this a stressful place? And he says, no, not normally. And then we find out Danny knew all along that everything was
Yeah.
a hoax. This was not true. Everything. And Dakota was like, had I known this was a prank, I would have been in on it the whole time. I would have lied my ass off.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny that Danny knew the whole time. He's like, what did he call her? No dog lady, something like
Douglas Lady Gabby or something like that.
Douglas like he's like he knew from the beginning. They're like, how long did you know? He's like, well, I knew Gabby. I knew her for 3 months, so 3 months ago. And then he came in. He's like, he had every intention of saying no, but then he came in and he goes, you all played along. And he goes, you all played along so much. It was like the whole day. And she's like, no, it wasn't that much. He goes, I missed 2 meetings. I had to reschedule 2 meetings. This went on forever. He's like, I just wanted, he goes, but he ends up, he's going to have the party there. So everybody comes in there telling him, and then Isabella goes, I'm from Mexico. I'm Mexican, but I'm not from there.
Yeah, because that was the whole thing when Isabella was like, why did you tell him I was from France? I'm Mexican. And Gabby was like, well, you're not from there. So yeah, that was a really fun episode. I really enjoyed it.
And then Gabby Isabella got to put her Randy ears and her nose back on at the end, and Danny was like, hey, you want to sing? Red, do you have a song you want to sing? So I was like, ooh, I was like, we're getting a Reba song. And it was just Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but it's still.
Yeah.
They gotta.
Still, anytime you can get Reba to sing is good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I loved it.
Great episode. I think next week is like the Christmas episode. This was like a Christmas-ish episode. I wouldn't call this the Christmas episode.
The pre-Christmas.
Yeah.
The Christmas before.
Yeah. Next week's episode is called Dear Jack. So we will see what that one is all about when we do our post credits next week. But I think that's the last episode before Christmas. I think. Might not be. Because Christmas is midweek, so it's weird. It is. Since this airs on Fridays, it might keep going on Fridays. So we'll see.
We'll see. Usually people take breaks for the holiday, and they might start throwing repeats depending on how. I don't know how things work too much, because I know when we were younger, there was a lot of episodes, and then when we got older, the episodes got shorter, so they had reruns and stuff like that. So we don't know. We might get some reruns, but it gives people a chance to pick up the show if they have not gotten to watch it. So I recommend this. I'm really enjoying the show. Like I said last week, they're picking up their stride. The cast is, they are a great cast. I love this cast. They work well together. They work well off of each other, and I'm pretty much enjoying this. I hope others are too. Like I said, leave us some comments. I love interacting with other fans of show. Like I became best friends with people because we bonded over shows. So like I love that camaraderie with the fans too. So if you're a fan of the show, definitely leave us some comments and interact with us. We love it. Adelia?
Yeah, and subscribe to the channel, please. We are getting ever so closer to 1,000 subscribers. We really want to hit that mark by the end of the year, so please subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate it. You could also, if you want to hang out in Discord and watch the show with us and just have a good time, or if you want to appear on an episode of the post credits with us to talk about Happy's Place, you can do so if you become a member over on our coffee page. That's ko-fi.com/LGR_network. There's different tiers, but $3 a month will get you into our Discord, where you can hang out and voice chat with us and watch the show together and talk about it and various other things. We're in there constantly, it feels like. So come hang out. We always love new friends. So
yes.
Also, if you could like this video and share it with your other Happy's Place loving friends, we'd really appreciate it.
Yes, we would. We would. I'm excited about the show, and I want to see other people be excited about it.
Yeah, me too, because I haven't seen that much excitement about this show. So
no, it's because I don't know. I usually would see it on like X, Twitter.
Yeah,
but I haven't been on there too much, so
yeah. My blue sky, I've not seen anybody talking about this show. So
well, maybe we'll start talking about it. Maybe I'll start tweeting about
it. Maybe. We will see. We will see if we, but leave us a comment. Let us know if you like the show. We'd appreciate it. Until next time, everybody, we are out of here. Bye.